Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's Karen Hooley, and I'm glad you're here to join me for Crochet Coffee and Chat today. It's January 13th, 2021. Can you believe we're already in 2021? I sure can't. Before we get started, I want to make sure that if you're following me or you're watching this later, make sure you hit the subscribe button down. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Actually on Rumble as well. Hit the subscribe button to follow me so that you know when I go live. On Rumble, I'm not going live yet because they don't have the live streaming, but that should be happening soon. At least that's what they told us a couple weeks ago. So I'll be going live on Rumble as well. But if you want to find out more about me, go ahead and go to my website at KarenHooley.com. I've got the link down there below. And I'm going to tell you all, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter because I have a really great newsletter coming out next week. I have a new pattern being released, and if you're a subscriber to my newsletter, you will get 25% off the pattern. Plus, we're going to do a little crochet along with it in February. So make sure you're subscribed to that newsletter. So go to KarenHooley.com and you will you'll see that. You can also follow me on Instagram at Karen Hooley, all one word. You will see another Karen Hooley out there that has an underscore between Karen and Hooley. That's my personal site. I'm only using that for friends and family. So if you try to follow me there, it's private, and I won't accept anyone that I don't know on that one. That one's a private one. So follow me at Karen Hooley. All one word. And I'm going to be doing a lot more video and posting and stuff like that, but we'll talk about some of that a little bit later. If you want to follow me on Rumble, here is the link to follow me on Rumble. I just posted last week a Rumble only video. So if you haven't gone to Rumble, you might want to do that and start following me there as well. I'm going to be doing a lot more on Rumble than I will be on YouTube. So it's really important to me that you guys go over to Rumble too. And then I wanted to just remind everybody that my book, Coastal Crochet, you can kind of see it back there. It's this blue one right here with the arm sticking up. It's part of the Books to Read promotion. The link is down at the bottom there, and I think it's going through the end of January. So if you're interested in purchasing that book in a digital format, it's not a print, it's digital only, you can go to that link there at the bottom of the screen, and you can get, you can see my book under Learn a New Skill. So there's that. And then last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about before we start is, I thought I heard my door opening behind me. I have all my classes for the month of February up on my website. I'm teaching 3 classes this time around, 2 Tunisian classes, Tunisian basics for those who are not familiar with doing Tunisian or just would like a refresher course. And then I'm doing the Tunisian short row class. And then also I'm doing the reversible shell scarf class. So if you're interested in any of those, make sure you check out my website. If you just go to my website and click on education, you'll see virtual or online classes, I think is what it's listed as. You can see the information there, or this is the direct link right here on the bottom of the screen. So I wanted to get started just by giving you all that information. I'm going to go over to the comments and see who's here. And we've got Brad's mom. So Brad and Linda are both here. Hi, Brad and Linda. I'm glad you guys are here. I also have Laura Shelton. Hello. I don't think, have you dropped in on my lives before? I can't remember. My brain has been a little frazzled these days, and we'll talk about why in just a minute, but I'm glad you're here as well. And I see that there's at least one more person here, so if you haven't popped in and said hello, please do so. I'd love to know who's here. I hope you guys are having a good week. Last week, since the video, I've had a lot going on. First of all, the reason my brain is so frazzled these days is today is the day that our new house closes. I'm so excited. Sometime this afternoon, we should be getting the call from the builder to come pick up the keys. So I'm so excited. Yesterday, we went and signed all the papers, and we are that close to moving in. For those of you who Oh, okay. I see. Okay, that's why I didn't recognize your first name. Okay, L. Shelton is now Laura Shelton. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Laura, for confirming that you have been here before. Awesome. So we're this close. Tomorrow, after we close, tomorrow morning, I have to go to the house at 7:30 a.m. to let in our flooring guy. He is going to be, even though we built a brand new house, I think I mentioned this before, the builder does not, and I have no idea why. I mean, everybody keeps asking me, and I have no idea why. They would not put the wood laminate upstairs. And I'm an asthmatic, and I need to have no carpeting, at least in my bedroom. And we decided to put laminate throughout the entire upstairs as well as the downstairs. So the brand new carpeting that, you know, we just went with the standard carpeting because we knew we were going to tear it out. So the guys come in tomorrow morning to tear out the carpet and start laying laminate flooring up there. So our official moving date is the 21st, which is the day after I'll be doing hopefully I will be doing a live next week. It all depends on what is going on. I also want to tell you I'm about to sneeze, so I am not sick. We are having a big windstorm here in the state of Washington. We are in the south central state right now. The west side of the state has already had a whole bunch of power outages. And Spokane, which is about 2 hours northeast of us, is they actually shut down the schools because the wind is so bad and the power's going out there. So I just wanted to let you guys know that if I'm sneezing, it's because the wind is just bringing everything that I'm allergic to, or it's just making my nose. You can probably see I'm a little red from blowing my nose because I've been sneezing so much. But I'm not sick. Honestly, I'm not sick. So it's just me and my allergies and asthma. So I feel like I'm going to sneeze, but maybe not. Okay. So anyway, yeah, so we're moving in on the 21st for sure. But, you know, in the meantime, my husband and I are going to be, you know, going back and forth from this rental to the new house and dropping off stuff that we know that we can move ourselves and we don't have the movers. And then on Thursday, the 21st, we have movers here coming to get all the big stuff that the two of us can't do by ourselves, and even with our daughter's help, because it's in the middle of the work week. Can't get my nephews and all that. So we just decided to hire some movers to get the big stuff over there for us and set up. Let's see, Laura, amazing how much stuff. Yes, you know, we moved to this rental in June, and we had to put our house on the market on the west side of the state. And I think I started packing. We put the house on the market June 1st. And I think I started packing in early April because you know how when you're staging your house, you have to clear everything and all of that. And then we had to bring in a painter to paint the interior of the house that needed it really badly. And we had some new carpet. We replaced the carpet in our downstairs basement. And so I was packing early. I can't tell you how many trips we went to Goodwill and St. Vincent de Paul and just to get rid of stuff, and how much went into the garbage, you know. And I have a feeling I'm going to be doing that again. So yeah, it's moving is rough no matter how close you are, because the last time we moved before we sold that, when we moved into the house that we just sold, we only moved 4 miles across town, not even 4 miles to that house. And that was such a pain. And then this one, we moved across the state to the rental, and now we're only 15 minutes from the new house. So, yeah. So, Linda says, when this house was built, I told the builder no carpeting and to leave it plywood. I also told him to keep his dishwasher and bought my own. I took credit on the price of the house. Oh, that was nice that your builder could do that. Did you hire a builder to do it? Because we're actually in a subdivision where we could pick our lot. We could pick the model that we wanted on that lot. And then we could customize certain things, but certain things we couldn't customize. And one of them was putting the laminate flooring upstairs, because they had beautiful laminate flooring for the downstairs. It was exactly what I wanted. And we even told them we would pay them to do it upstairs, you know, but no, they don't it's very, they do things, you know, their way. But they did tell us that about a month into the move into the house, they will send us a survey. And if there's anything we wish they would have let us do, that to put that on there, because maybe in the future for someone else, we could, you know, have it done. So yeah, it's a pain. It's a pain because we can't move in right away, but at least I know I'm going to get the house that I wanted on the backside of all of this. So one more week in this rental is not a big deal. We have the lease until the end of the month. So it actually gives me time to make sure this house is clean before we turn in the keys on the 30th. So yeah. So my brain's been a little scattered because I've been making phone calls. So, you know, hooking up water, hooking up internet, hooking up, you know, getting the garbage set up, the electricity, the gas for the gas stove and the heater. And, you know, and then I have made all the calls to cancel all the services here except for the water, because I can't do the water until like 2 days before we move out. You know, it's just, it's one of those weird things. So, yeah, and I can't even put the water in our name at the new house until later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, because that has to actually record with the city before they'll turn on or put the water in our own names. So yeah, so I have lists all over the place. Excuse me, this is my nose too. Okay, I really am not sick, I promise you guys. Oh, the builder was building here anyhow. Okay. No, it's a townhouse. I didn't want this cheap carpeting with, yeah. Oh, wow. See, builders don't do that anymore, at least not here. There's so many things that the city required that, I mean, we could not close on the house if there wasn't carpeting upstairs. I mean, even if we just told them not to put the carpeting in, they wouldn't close on the house. So, the nice thing is that we've talked to Habitat for Humanity. So when they pull out the carpet, the only thing we have to do is just cut out the sections that have like the vent cutouts, you know, if there's vents on the floor or something. And I don't think we even have vents on the floor, but anything that's a weird shape that's cut out for something, we have to cut those out. But as long as they're at least 10 by 10 pieces of carpet, we can donate them to Habitat. So that's what we're doing. We're going to donate to Habitat for Humanity. In fact, some of the light fixtures in the house, we just left them standard because we were going to put in ceiling fans. So we're going to be donating a bunch of lighting fixtures too. So Habitat's going to really love our family at this point. Oh, Linda, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, that's the hard part of, you know, building somewhere is whether or not you're getting a good construction company. Fortunately, the builder that we're working with is one of the highest ranked in our state. Actually, they work in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, and they're based in Oregon. But when you look at their rankings and their all the reviews and everything, no matter where we go, everybody says that Hayden Homes is the name of the builder. Hayden Homes is one of the best in the area. So, and we're impressed because we got to walk through the house every step. I mean, we saw it in studs. We got to see when they put in olive, before they even drywalled, we got to go in. They did a special appointment. They do this with all of their clients. Bring us in, let us take pictures of everything in the walls so we know where all the heating vents are. We know where all the water vents, you know, water is going, all the drains, the heater. We could see the heater up in the ceiling. So my husband has all of these photos. So if anything does go wrong, we know where to start looking. And then if we need to do anything, you know, if we need to like put in a shelf that we're going to drill in the wall or something, we know where all of the pipes and stuff are. So that was really good. So we've seen it from bare dirt up. So that's a nice thing about living 15 minutes from where you're building is you get to see the whole process from the beginning. So yeah, so this week as far as crochet has been, haven't done a whole lot. Saturday, we watched our Seahawks lose in the wild card football game for for the chance to go to the Super Bowl. But while I was doing that, I was working on my shawl, and I thought I'd show you guys. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw a picture of it smaller than this. I thought I'd definitely show you. I am more than halfway done now. I've got, there we go. That's what I want out of the way. So I'm more than halfway done. You can kind of see where it dips in the bottom, and now it's going across the other side. This shawl, I'm hoping to actually have it finished before we move into the house. I'm going to be working out of the new house for a few days while the guys up there doing the flooring. I'm going to be in the kitchen working. We have the internet people coming. I have the refrigerator being delivered. I have a washer and dryer being delivered. So I'm going to be at the house a lot. So I'll be working. So hopefully by the end of the month, that'll be done. I do too, Belinda. I love that shawl. I love the color. It's going to be one of those that I think I'm going to keep for myself even after the pattern has been released. Because usually what I do is I have all of my samples. Just about every pattern I have in my store right now, I still have the sample for. But it's getting to be a lot. So you might be seeing a sample sale later this quarter, maybe like in February or March. I might start promoting that I'm selling the samples. But there are a few pieces that I love so much that I'll never sell. And that this one I think is going to be one of them because I just love this colorway. It's my blue. I mean, blue. Everybody knows I love blue. So, so I just love the way this one's turning out too. But I wanted to show you, as soon as that one's done, I'm winding this yarn up. I think I showed you guys this yarn before. This is from, both of these yarns are from Sock Obsession Yarns. And she dyes pretty much, I think, just sock wet yarns. This is called Rush Hour. And what the funny thing is that I am not an orange person. But for some reason, this gray and orange together just made me think of a new shawl. And I love when, I mean, on the, it's hard for me to figure out this camera. There we go. It's so bright. Yes, it did. It reminds me of a sunset. And I think it is, that's why she calls it rush hours, kind of, us in the rush hour and the sun is setting and all of that. But I don't know, when I saw it online on because I bought it a few months ago, online, sight unseen, other than the photos in the picture. I didn't even know much about her bases. But I fell in love with this color, both of these colorways. And it was beautiful. I mean, the orange was just so bright in the pictures. I mean, orange is bright anyway, but this one was so bright. But when I got it, and you guys are seeing almost true. It's a little brighter, I think, because I have the sunlight coming this direction. So it's because the window is in front of me. So you get a little bit brighter, but see how shiny it is? It's just, and when I opened the box or the bag of yarn, I was just floored and flabbergasted at how beautiful this is. And again, orange is not my color. It never has been, but I am so in love with these skeins. I can't wait to wind them. So I'm thinking that probably later this week, I'm going to wind these up so they're ready to go, because I do have to pack all of my yarn on the yarn wall. And, but I want to make sure I have a project ready to go so that no matter how long it takes for me to get my yarn out, at least I have something I can work on. Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, if I don't have a project going, I feel like I'm lost and I can't sit anywhere. I mean, I go to the dentist's office and I'm waiting in the waiting room and I'm crocheting. I'm in the car with my family, I'm crocheting. I'm watching TV, I'm crocheting. The only time I don't crochet is when I'm eating, when I'm taking a shower, or when I'm in bed, because it's really hard for me to crochet in bed sitting up. So although when I did have foot surgery a couple of years ago, I figured it out. So maybe I could, but I don't. If I move, I will need a separate movie. You know what's funny is yesterday, Linda, I posted, I don't know, oh, you're not on Instagram, but, and I don't know, Laura, are you on Instagram? Do you follow me on Instagram? Exactly. I feel like it's lost time if I'm not crocheting. Yes, exactly. And I'm someone, you know, I'm Italian, so my hands are always have to be doing something. If I'm talking, I mean, I don't do as much of this online, but when you're talking to me in person, I mean, I've been known to smack whoever's next to me because my hands are going. I mean, that's just the Italian way of things. But yesterday I posted a picture on Instagram of my yarn wall. It was just like a boomerang picture where I just kind of scanned it one way and then it just bounces back and forth like this, the video kind of thing. And people were commenting on how small my stash is. And for me, it's huge. I have a lot of yarn there, and I think for me, it's huge because I know what every single piece of that yarn, the idea at least behind each one of those skeins of yarn is going to be. And so everybody's saying it's such a small stash. But the other thing people need to realize is that as a designer, a lot of times I'm given yarn or I buy yarn for a purpose and then something else takes precedence, or that design isn't going to be functional or whatever. And so every 6 months to a year, I call my stash. And anything that I know I'm not going to use, whether it's discontinued yarn, if it's discontinued yarn, if it's a color that really didn't turn out to be what I was expecting for the project, and I've had that happen a lot. If it's leftovers from previous projects, in fact, I have a cubby that has all of my leftovers for projects, you know, things that are like this big. You know, I have a couple projects, you know, here on my desk that are just a little bit of yarn left. I have a cubby that I put all that in. And sometimes I have, you know, like I am going to be working on a couple cat blankets after we move with my leftover fingering weight yarn. And I'm actually going to be doing some video on it. It's going to be an old pattern of mine. I mean, back from, I think when I printed it out, I think it was like 2002, I designed it. And I want to kind of bring it back in a different way. So I'm going to do some video on it. And Woolspun is back. I haven't seen that. Oh my gosh. I don't use a whole lot of Lion Brand anymore, but there's a couple yarns that I love of theirs. I haven't seen the hemp yet. I tend to be a person who uses hand-dyed yarn for the most part because I am such a fingering weight person, but I love Woolspun. Woolspun was one of my favorites out there, so I'm excited that that's back. I'm going to have to, once I'm settled and I can go to the store, and I feel like going to the store. I mean, I'm going to be overwhelmed after the move, I'm sure. Just getting everything set up. But yeah, I'll have to go look for Woolspun. But anyway, I call my stash. Anything that the color's not right, it's not right for the project, it's discontinued, unless I'm going to use it for something that I know is going to be fine to use a discontinued yarn. Kind of like the free pattern pache that I did for my newsletter subscribers. If you are on my newsletter, you got the copy of the free pattern pache, which means peace in Italian. That yarn is from one of my all-time favorite dyers, Black Trillium Fibers. And earlier last year, I want to say it was either April or May, she shut her doors. And I love her yarn. I will always love her yarn. And I was so disappointed because I had these two skeins that I knew that I was going to use for something. And instead of listing her yarns on the pattern, I basically said, pick any two hanks of yarn of this much yardage and that are fingering weight, and you can make this shawl. So I was able to use her yarn, even though it was discontinued, without, you know, saying it's her yarn. So, but most of the time I'm going to have to call those out. So then I send them to, you know, I have given them to senior centers. If you've ever heard of free cycle, I've done free cycling where people who work for charities, well, it's anybody, but most of the time I look for people who are saying they're going to use them for a charity project, or they're part of a group like Girl Scouts or, you know, Boys and Girls Club or something like that, where they do the crafting stuff and they could use the yarn. I've also donated a huge bag to my son's school after school program. And in fact, a few weeks ago, I got a text from my son. He was helping out in the after school program, and they were actually weaving on cardboard with the yarn that I had given them. And then the kids were saying, thank you for donating. So that was really cool. So my stash doesn't stay that big. And I've learned the hard way that I can't keep my stash very big because, well, I don't know about this side of the state, but on the other side of the state, it was very easy to get moths. And so, and I don't like to put my yarn in plastic containers or plastic bags unless I'm working on something for very long, because it does give it a moldy, dusty, icky, you know, sometimes I have in the past had yarn in a plastic box for several years, and then I pull it out and it feels moist and moldy and stuff like that. And so I have always had my stash for a long time out in the open, and moths were really prevalent. So I always had to turn over my stash. So that's why I don't have the huge stashes that most people do. Let's see. Hubby says, if you tie my hands, I can't talk. Yeah, you know what? That's me too, Laura. That's me too. I mean, and I think every single person in my family, except my husband, who's Irish. But even my son, I mean, he's a school teacher, he's an English teacher, and he says that's all the kids could tease him about. His hands always flying. So, yeah, I can't talk either. I can't. Linda says I can't sit still with nothing to do. I'm half Italian. If my hands aren't busy knitting or crocheting, I will be talking with my hands. Yep, that's exactly the way I am. My grandmother, my nonna, who taught me to crochet. I mean, I never saw her without something in her hands, except for when one of the things when I remember growing up was that my family, it was my mom, my dad, my sister, and I, we would sometimes go with my grandparents to visit family, you know, extended family, like her brother or my nonno's brother. And we'd go as a group to, you know, the six of us would go. And I would see my nonna there with her hands on her lap, but she's constantly going like this, because she's got nothing going on with her hands, you know, or she'd have a handkerchief in her hand and it just kind of helped her keep her hands still, because she's always, I mean, all the time, I can still picture her. I mean, whether it was, you know, like peeling carrots and potatoes or crocheting or at the sewing machine or cleaning. I mean, Nonna just never sat still. And I think I got that little bit from her where I can't sit still without something going on with my hands. So anyway, Laura, yeah, so it's kind of funny. That's just how it is for me, unfortunately. Or fortunately, you know, the fact that I always want to keep busy is probably a good thing. And I'm going to be busy for a while, that's for sure. So that's about all I have for you guys today, because I have been so consumed with the house. So if you guys want to talk about anything specific, let me know. Let's see. Linda says, when the lady next door to us passed away years ago, her sons gave me 2 50-gallon leaf bags stuffed with yarn, which I gave to a lady at the VFW. Yeah, for lap blankets. I have done that with when I've culled my stash. That's another organization that people do, you know, work for. So I've done that. In fact, I have a friend who is actually a nurse at the local Seattle VFW hospital. And so, you know, she would mention that, and I would, you know, send yarn to her for that as well. So, and baby hats for the hospitals, for the preemie ward, or even just newborns in general. I've done that, you know, stuff like that. Your Polish grandmother was the same way. You know, I think there's something to do with that European area. I think it's not just the Italians. I mean, the Italians are the ones that are known for always moving their hands, but yeah, I think a lot of the Europeans are they just don't sit still, and that's just kind of how it is. But anyway, Actually, that's now that Linda brings that up about, you know, and I talked about doing stuff for charity. That's the other thing I need to do once we're settled into our house is I always used to knit and crochet hats for the local in the on the west side of the state. We had a Catholic Community Services had a layette program that one of my friends was kind of the administrator for, and they were always in need of newborn hats and blankets and sweaters because every month for those families who couldn't afford to get stuff, they would do baskets that would have diapers and onesies and, you know, wipes and stuff, but they were always included at least one blanket, at least one sweater, sometimes two or three, and then some hats, some baby hats. And that was kind of my favorite charity, was doing those hats because they were quick and I could get a lot of them done and they were always in need. And so now, you know, I've thought about shipping them to her, which I might still do, but I'm looking for something local to do similar to that too. So I use a lot of my excess yarn for that too, as long as it's baby worthy. It's not like 100% wool or scratchy like a mohair or, you know, something that shrinks. I usually use acrylic or a cotton acrylic blend, or my favorite for baby hats is cascade fixation with the elastic in it. So even make my nieces and nephews are now having babies, and I can make them all a hat out of that because it'll stretch with the baby a little bit. Laura says, I used to think plastic grocery bags were garbage, but then I learned how to make plarn for homeless folks sleeping mat. Oh, I never thought about that. I didn't even think about that. That's because there's a lot of, in fact, my daughter works for a shelter for teens right now, but they've been getting so many donations of things that they can't use that they've been bringing to the homeless shelter. And so, you know what, that's actually an idea. I didn't even think about that. That's a good idea, Laura. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. So that might be something I can do too, because now with this COVID crisis, we can't use our reusable shopping bags. So everything's coming home in plastic. And I've always hated plastic. I always, you know, if I had the choice, I would pick paper. But now it seems like we don't even have that choice anymore. So yeah, that might be something to start doing. I have to think about that. Anyway, anybody else have something they want to say? We can talk about, let's see. My parents lived through World War II and the Depression, so I have learned how not to waste. Yes, my grandparents and my mom was a baby during World War II, but yes, my grandparents lived through the Depression and then learned not to waste. I mean, my grandfather used to make wine when he stopped just shortly before I was born, but he still had the big wine barrels, the ones that you see now at the home improvement stores where they cut them in half to use them as planters. Though they're even bigger than that. And my grandmother had one in her basement. It's kind of hard to explain, but she had like this, I don't know, this area that was shut off from the main part of the basement that she kept like all of her cookie jars and her cookies. It was almost like another room that she could work in, but it didn't have water. Well, it did have water because her washing machine was on one side, but it had all these counters and shelves. But on one side, there was one of my grandfather's wine barrels with the top cut off. And she put in all of her grocery bags, whether they were plastic or paper. And it was mostly paper, but when plastic started to come out, she put the plastics in there too. And I remember when they finally had to move out of that house, and my mom and my aunt had to go through that barrel and, you know, separate the paper from the plastic. And I mean, anytime we went home from her house, she would pull one of the bags out of there and fill it up with cookies and leftover food from, if we were there for a holiday and she had leftover food, she would always, you know, send us home with food and stuff. So we're always with these bags, but she never ran out. And it's because she had a wine barrel that probably stood 4 to 5 feet tall and full of those bags. I mean, so that's the one thing that I remember for sure that she never wasted. I mean, she never wasted like banana peels. Those always went into the mulch, you know, things like that. It was just crazy. Someone once said something like use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Yep. Oh, hi, Deborah. I'm glad you're popped in. I actually, for the baby hats, for the fixation yarns, literally, okay, I get the fixation yarn. The knitting one, I can tell you right off the top of my head. It's the fixation yarn, and I use 9-inch size 4 knitting needles, and I cast on 80 stitches, and I just knit in the round stockinette until it's 4 to 5 inches tall. And then once I do that, I knit 8 decrease, knit 8 decrease, you know, so that I decrease evenly 8 stitches all the way around. And then I do a row even, then I knit 7, decrease, knit 7, decrease, you know, and then knit even all the way around, and then knit 6, decrease, knit 6, decrease all the way around, and then knit even until I get down to where I am just, I have 8 stitches. And then when I have 8 stitches, I cut, I weave through and pull the top tight, and when weave in the ends, excuse me, weave in the ends, and then I'm done. I mean, that is, I mean, it's the easiest pattern in the world for knit baby hats with fixation. And I use all sorts of colors. I mean, now that fixation comes in Seahawks, Seahawks colors and Mariners colors, I do a lot of those because a lot of families back on the west side are very, very pro Mariners, pro Seahawks. But I also do other colors. So I do have the pinks and the blues and the greens. And then what happens too is that I can usually make 1.5 hats with each ball of fixation if I'm knitting. And with the leftover yarn, what I'll end up doing is I'll make mix matched hats. So like if I have a variegated, half of a skein of or half a ball of variegated, I'll knit as far as I can, and then if I have a solid color that matches it, I might join that solid color and sometimes I don't match them, and they turn out to be the cutest hats in the world. Sometimes I'll start with the solid and make the crown of the hat a variegated. So I do, that's literally what I do, Deborah, for my knit hats. For my crochet hats, I usually do a variation of a granny square in the round. It's usually like 3 double crochets in the space. Well, I'll start with the double crochets at the top of the crown until it's as wide as I want it to be. And I have to kind of measure because with crochet, I'm not as consistent with every yarn. So I kind of measure until it's about, I think I have the pattern written down. It's like the diameter of the circle is, I want to say it's either 4 or 5 inches diameter. I can't remember off the top of my head anymore. And then I start increasing until the circle is a diameter of whatever it is. And then I start doing double crochets, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and so that it makes it even stitches going down. And then it's got the open work. And I do that. And if you measure from the top of the crown, the very center of the circle, down to the bottom of the hat, it's only about 4 to 5 inches because newborns don't usually need more than that. And then sometimes I'll do a reverse single crochet around the edge. But that's kind of how I do my hats. But Deborah, you can go on Google and just Google baby hats, newborn hats, and crochet newborn hat patterns. There's tons out there that you can use in crochet. I have a preemie hat pattern that I want to release as a free pattern this year that I need to redo the sample so that you can actually really see, because the pictures are terrible. They're from back in like 91, or not 91, 98, 99, 2000. So when I designed that pattern, and I took it off a long time ago because the pictures were terrible. So I need to re-release that. You were gifted, Laura was gifted 1 hank of 60% alpaca, and 40% acrylic. And I was wondering what to make with 1 hank. What is it? What do you know what weight it is? Is it fingering, worsted, DK, lace? Laura, what weight is it before I give you some ideas? It's just 1 hank, because that'll give me an idea of approximately what the yardage might be. It's DK. So you're probably in the 200, I would say in the I'm going to say 225 to probably short of 300 yards in one skein. A thick 3. Okay, you could do fingerless gloves. I mean, alpaca is amazing for fingerless gloves, or even mittens if you have enough yardage for the mittens to finish the tops. It can make a really pretty, if you did a narrow scarf, you could do that. You might have enough yardage to do a hat. I had a hank of DK weight that was, I think, 230 yards. That's what this is actually. 230 yards, but this is a little thinner. It's not a real bulky DK. But I think it was 230 yards, and I was able to make a hat out of it. In fact, I'll be releasing that probably in March, that hat pattern. I'm trying to think what else. You could do a cowl. That should be enough to do, not a really wide cowl that would wrap a couple times, but maybe one close to the neck cowl. But alpaca is great. Alpaca is great for anything to keep you warm. I helped a high school senior one time make a sweater, and he absolutely wanted alpaca. He is a crocheter. It was for a senior project, and he wanted to learn some crochet techniques that he didn't know. So I helped him make a hooded sweater, and he made it out of an alpaca wool blend. I think it was 60 alpaca. It was one of a Cascade Yarns alpacas. It was worsted weight, and that sweater was so warm that he couldn't wear it. He ended up ripping it apart after his project was over and using the yarn for different things, because he was fully expecting to wear it himself, and it would have been beautiful on. It was just way too hot. So that's why I always recommend, if you're going to have that much alpaca, like 60 or more % in your skein, you want to do an accessory. So like a hat, fingerless mittens, gloves, cowls, scarves. DK, it lends itself to, you could do leg warmers if you're into that thing. I know people have done that. You could make them into slippers for someone who, but I don't think you're going to have enough yardage with just one hank. So there you go. I'm glad I could help, Deborah. I'm glad, and I saw that you were asking, yes, a 9-inch size 6 circular. I think I actually have it right here. I just put away a bunch of knitting needles, so I'm pretty sure it's in here. Yep, no, yeah, this is the one. So it's just a short. I tend to use the Hayas because I like a little sharper point when I'm using the fixation. But this is literally how big the needles are. So that's what I use. Hello, I'm going to probably not pronounce your name correctly. Is it Ashish? I've never visited India. Someplace I would love to visit someday, but I've never visited India. Love when guys crochet. Found out an MM5. Yeah, there's a lot of men out there now that crochet. When I was living on the West Side, when I first moved there about 20 years ago, I used to do. I used to be one of the judges for the fair for the crochet. I did the regular crochet, anything that was done in yarn, but there was a man there who judged all the lace weight yarn. So all the doilies and all of the doilies, the filet crochet, all that. He did all the judging for that stuff. But there was this one man who would enter every year. He was an engineer for Boeing, and the way he really distressed was to make these gorgeous wall covering doilies. Oh, they were beautiful. He got best in show almost every year. I mean, his doilies were amazing. So yes, size 4, Deborah. For the knitting needles, size 4. And real men do crochet and knit. I agree with that, Linda, 100%. my son, actually, I taught both my kids to crochet. My son does still crochet a little bit. He has some projects going. He doesn't do much anymore right now because he's getting his master's right now, and he's teaching school at the same time. So he hasn't picked up a hook in a long time, but he does crochet. My daughter has crocheted. I mean, she actually, one year we were at a show, and she bought yarn, and I had some hooks for her, and she crocheted a hat for her boyfriend, who is now her fiance. So she's crocheted a scarf, I think, recently, or not too recently, but you know, they just don't have I have a feeling one or both of them will, as they get older, pick it up again. And even if it's maybe pick up knitting, just to pass the time for stress relief. My daughter does cross stitch, so that's kind of her thing right now. So, so Deborah, yes, size 4. I remember growing up when a football linebacker came out. Yes, oh gosh, what was his name? I was like, oh, I can't think of his name, but I was so happy because I'm a huge football fan. I mean, my Seahawks. I grew up with the Oakland Raiders because I grew up in California, and that was my family's team. And I still bleed black and silver. I mean, that's just kind of, they will always be my first love of football. But I'm a Seahawks fan now, but I love football. Rosie Green, yes. Thank you. Rosie Green. I remember when he came out, my dad was floored because he never thought, his mother was a knitter, and my mom's mother was the one who taught me to crochet, but she was also a knitter, and it was always the woman's thing. So when Rosie Green came out and did that, I was like, oh yeah, that was a Rosie Greer. Man, that was amazing. And, I think it's important that it's not, traditionally, especially in Italy, in all the things that I've studied about Italian lace and Italian, just growing up in an Italian family, the lace work and the knitting and the crocheting is traditionally what the women did. The men worked outside of the house, and the women did the knitting and crocheting and kept the house. And they considered needlework of any kind, whether it was needlepoint like Rosie Greer or what we do. I still needlepoint, I still embroidery. I haven't done it in a long time, but I know how to do it. I was taught that as well. Was traditionally women's work, but I think that a lot of men enjoy it, and it's stress relieving. You guys all know it's so stress relieving. Even with this move, like last night I worked a little bit on that shawl, and it was enough to just kind of calm me down. And, I was ready for bed by the time I was done with what I wanted to get done last night. And it's just, I think it's important that both sexes definitely at least try it. Don't have to love it, but at least try it. And isn't it? Yes. I think so, Laura. Yes, so that cooking is women's work, but so many chefs are men, and I think that's I don't know. I don't even know how to describe that. It almost feels like in some ways it's a double standard, but it's not. I don't even know what the word is that I'm looking for. My husband cooks. My father-in-law was an amazing cook. In fact, when my in-laws were married for 25 years, my mother-in-law said that she had cooked for the first 25 years, and now it was his turn. And so he did. He had a mean chili. Oh man, it was so good. He was a good cook. He was a good cook. And my mother-in-law taught my husband and his brother how to cook. So that, my husband is really the barbecuer in the family, but he also does amazing chicken enchiladas and stuff like that. So we kind of share the cooking a little bit in our house, because sometimes I'm working on something that I can't get away from. And so he starts dinner for me, and I he'll do the main part, and then I'll, do all the sides when I'm done with whatever it is I'm doing. So it's great. I think, I don't think any of these things are just women's or just men's. I think everybody needs to share. So, Brat's mom, I'm just going back and seeing that Linda had said something about the craft classes where men teach knitting and crochet. You like Shiva guys, Shannon Molesby or Drew and Borski, Crochet Dude. Both of them have classes on Craftsy. I think there's a couple knitters. I can't think. Is Alistair on there? I can't remember. There's a couple knitting designers as well that teach classes on Craftsy. It's been a while since I've really looked at the Craftsy classes. I should mention, I don't know, are you guys all on Craftsy? Do you guys know that Blueprint has turned back into Craftsy? It's owned by a totally different company now out of Minnesota, and they're slowly bringing things back. My classes are still on there. With this move, I haven't done a whole lot with Craftsy Uniting Promotion. My classes are on my website with a link to click to find out more about those classes. In fact, if you go to that education link that I had up before, I'm going to put it up there for right now. Here, this link on my website, the Craftsy classes are listed there, and they're a link that goes directly to Craftsy to sign up. And they are, just so you know, those are affiliate links that link to Craftsy, so that I get a little bit extra kickback if you're interested in my 2 classes on Craftsy. I'm hoping that once things open up, Craftsy will allow me to do another class for them, because I really enjoyed doing it the first time. I never did anything with Blueprint because I filmed my last class probably 6 months to a year. I'm going to say 6 months to a year before it became Blueprint. And then now this new company is planning to do more Craftsy classes. It's just with the shutdowns, they can't do it safely at the moment. So I'm hoping soon they'll be able to open up and do that. So so if you're interested in that, my Craftsy classes are there too. So yes, and Franklin Habit. I think Franklin's not on Craftsy, but he's done things for Interweave and other places. Yes. Franklin does some amazing classes, and I love talking to Franklin because he's very much into vintage lace in all means, whether it's knitting, crocheting, bobbin lace, whatever. He's not that big of a crocheter, but when he and I were teaching at the same event back in February, last February, before the shutdown, and I showed him the proof of my new book, which was Modern Italian Lace Crochet, before the shutdown and before it was released. And he told me that this is what crocheters needed because they needed to see lace. So he totally appreciates the type of crochet that I'm doing, even though he doesn't do it himself. So I was really excited to be able to talk to him. Oh, are they having a 40% off sale? You know what? This house, I'm telling you, I am not keeping up on all my emails. So that's good to hear that Craftsy's doing that. You have his craft. He does do Craftsy. Okay, I couldn't remember if Franklin did Craftsy or not. And he color work classes. He does all sorts of. If you ever get to take a class from him live, do it, because I have not yet. But every single person who's ever taken a class from Franklin has raved and raved about his teaching, what he teaches, how much they get out of it, and that stuff. So highly, highly, highly recommend it. So anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, this has been a great conversation. Yeah, I wish could get more men out there to. I do have a few men who are followers, and I have a couple yarn companies that I can recommend that are run by men. One is called Leading Men Fiber Arts. They're based in, I want to say, Illinois. And they've always been at large events, you know, as a vendor selling their yarns and stuff. And I just heard actually yesterday that they finally opened a brick and mortar store as well in somewhere in Illinois. So if you're in that area, you might want to check out Leading Men Fiber Arts. They have beautiful, beautiful yarns. The other one is Two Guys Two Guys Yarn? Yeah, Two Guys Yarn. And they are, I think they're also in Illinois somewhere, but they're building or refinishing a house in Iowa right now. I mean, their Instagram feed is all about both their yarn and their house that they're remaking. And they have some amazing yarns. I mean, I can't remember their names right now. It's like but one of them is a spinner also, and they both knit and they both crochet, or one knits, one's crochets, or one knits and one does both, and then one's a spinner. And so they have some amazing yarns. Let me see, since you're asking about links, let me see if I can find their links. So hang on, I'm not looking at the camera to, I'm going to type in here. Two Guys Yarn Company. Okay, here we go. Here's Two Guys. I think this is them. Yes, this is them. Hang on. So Two Guys. I will put them in the notes as well. There's Two Guys Yarn now, and then I'm going to do Leading Men Fiber Arts. Leading Men Fiber Arts. There we are. Make sure that's them before I put the link in the comments here. Yes, that's them. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay. Okay. So there's the two links. I will put them in the comments as well. But there you go. I mean, I can highly recommend their yarns. I haven't worked with Leading Men's because of the time that I was actually able to be there to touch and feel their yarns. I was not in the position to buy because I was on the way to go teach a class at Interweave. And I'm really hoping that I'll be back at Interweave because that's usually the event that they're at that I'm also at. And that I'll be able to buy some of their yarn. But I did buy some Two Guys yarn and it's amazing. So can't recommend either one of them more. They are just amazing yarns. I do know Leading Men does use some of the same bases that one of my other favorite dyers use. I don't know that she's dyeing anymore, but it's Woolly Wonka Fiber Arts. She's designing more than she is dyeing yarn, I think. So she may not be dyeing as much. But they use the same bases. So I could get, she would always say, if you don't like one of my colors here, go to Leading Men, and they have the same base with different colors. So that's another option too. But anyway, highly recommend, highly recommend. So anything else, guys? I've got about 3 more minutes before I really do need to leave, but anything else you guys want to chat about? I'm so glad you guys popped in. And I just want to let you guys know too, before I kind of exit out of this live, is next week is very iffy if I'll be able to do a live or not. I'm going to try because I'll be in the throes of packing up this house. So if I do go live, this room is probably going to be super empty. Excuse me. That's the thing with this wind too, is it makes me cough. Hang on a sec. Anyway, this room would be empty, or I might be filming from the kitchen in my new house. Who knows? Depending on what's going on. But then also with all the things going on, I probably am going to need a break, and I would love talking to you guys because you guys give me the break that I need. So, and it's you. I mean, I hope I inspire you with stuff, but I cannot tell you how much you guys all inspire me. That's why I love teaching classes. That's why I love going to events when I can, because not only do I get to do what I love, which is teach and talk about crochet, but you guys inspire me. And that is so relaxing for me. When I'm stressed, I know I can count on my crochet peeps to to help me out, you know. So so I'm gonna try very hard to somehow to do my live stream next week. In the kitchen, what's for lunch? We'll see. I might be able to show you my kitchen at that point. If I'm streaming from there. The only reason I'd be in my kitchen is because they're still working on the flooring upstairs. So you probably would be getting a lot of hammering and banging and stuff too. So but I'm definitely going to try, because I know I'm going to need a break from all of that stuff. So it would be great to just chat with you guys for a little bit. I can't guarantee I'm going to have a whole lot of crochet stuff to show you that I've started or working on, but we can still chat. So anyway, guys, I guess I'm going to go ahead and go. So you have a great rest of your week. I'll see you hopefully next week, if not for sure the following week. And the following week, I'll be hopefully streaming live from my new studio, which may or may not be totally put together by that point, but at least I'll have a portion of it there. So I'll see you then. Have a great, great week, and I will see you next time. Talk to you later. Have a good one.